Welcome to Valencia for After the Flag, the final edition, the 19th edition. I'm Steve Day. I'm joined here by Matt Birt and Simon Crafar as ever. I'm sorry for the croaky throat. It's been a long winter and I've been suffering a little bit, much like so many people in the paddock. We're going to try and get through it. You can see how cold it is. We've all got double jackets on here, ready for the final one. Marc Marquez has done it again. He has taken yet another victory to round off what has just been the most stupendous season. A fantastic win. Of course, we'll be showing you our predictions and the final championship points table. I was out of it, but what happens between these two, we'll find out shortly. Guys, let's analyse what's just happened then here in Valencia. We've got quite a bit to get through, but first of all, Marc Marquez. I mean, it just kind of sums up what we've seen all year, really, from Marc. He's just been unstoppable, absolutely ridiculous. In the 18 races he's finished, Matt, he's won 12 of them and finished in second for 8 of them. I mean, or 6 of them, sorry, I'm all over the place.
There's not much else you can say, though, is there? I mean, the guy this year has been on another level. He's been a class apart, head and shoulders of everybody else, by far the best rider. Yeah. And once again out there today, he proved exactly why. You know, he didn't get the greatest of starts. No, he was probably 5th or 6th at the first corner. I think, actually, the plan A was to just go and break. He wanted to just lead the whole race, but gave himself a bit of a challenge, but he really enjoyed it. He thought, you know, it's a fight I'm not really expecting to be in, but once he got through on Fabio, he never felt like it was going to be a rerun of Misano or Buram. He always felt in control. We knew that from FP4. The numbers speak for themselves. The guy has been absolutely phenomenal this year. What else can you say? I mean, he's been truly remarkable. It's going to be so hard for him to repeat that, but it's going to be fun watching him try. Yeah, there's only one man that could really beat up 420 points in a season, and that's Marc Marquez, probably, Simon.
Yeah, all I can say about Marc is he literally was on another level all year, you know, and a few could get to that level but then drop back. And for me, I don't know if I should be saying this, but it's the people to stop him in the future. It's not going to come from the older established guys. It's going to come from these younger guys that have joined MotoGP in the last couple of years that are building up, including Rins and that, and the guys behind them experience-wise, and Jack Miller, Mir, Lecuona, but I think it's also going to take some more blood from Moto2 to mix it with Marc in the future.
Of course, I would say that our 2020 lineup is set, but of course we know that from everything that's happened in the last 24 hours here, or certainly for the start of the weekend, that we're not completely sure on that. Top of the list of, you know, if we're going to back up what Simon's just been saying, is of course Fabio Quartararo. Started on pole position. Hats off to him today, because I mean, pace-wise, on paper, not many people had him down as the number one contender to Marc here this weekend.
No, I thought Fabio was absolutely awesome, like he has been all season. You know, this time last year, he had never even ridden a MotoGP bike, and here we are 12 months later waxing lyrical about the guy. 13 front row starts, 6 pole positions, 7 podiums, Rookie of the Year, top independent team, top independent rider. I mean, everything he could have accomplished this year, he did it and some. He has been absolutely superb. Once again, he was the only guy that could really give Marc a few nervy moments in that race, and credit to him and his team, because Friday they weren't on par with Viñales and Marquez. They clearly found something. They kept digging away, chipping away at it, and Fabio was there in the most important part of the weekend on Sunday. He is going to step up next year and be Marc's biggest threat. I thought he was sensational yet again today.
In the press conference just a moment ago, Simon, Fabio referred to the fact that the conditions today were different and perhaps he didn't feel as fast as he was going yesterday. I mean, you mentioned that from pit lane, but nonetheless, a great job from the Frenchman.
Unbelievable. I was a little bit worried going into the race because the sun disappeared, and every afternoon that they'd been testing here, the sun was out and the track temperature was reasonable. And then as soon as the sun disappeared, that cold wind, I thought there might have been, well, there was some falls, but I thought there might have been more. The thing about Fabio is he has done such an amazing year this year. I think that I'm not good on the statistics like you guys, but I think I can only remember guys like Rossi and Marquez doing a first year like that. So maybe that's what Fabio's got in store for us in the future.
Moving on to third place, not for the first time this season, Matt. Jack Miller, top Ducati, and a top job. You have to take your hat off to the Australian. Not just today, but all weekend, really. He's shown that podium potential was there. Yeah, top Ducati all weekend, and top Ducati when it really mattered in the race on Sunday. Again, I mean, Jack's had a fantastic year. You know, he had that GP19, similar equipment to Danilo Petrucci and Andrea Dovizioso, so he had to step up.
That was a big boost for Jack from Ducati. It showed that they trusted him, and boy, has he repaid that faith. I mean, 5 dry race podiums this year for Jack Miller, the best by any independent team Ducati rider. You know, Jack rode with a lot of experience and a lot of maturity.
Yeah,
you know,
that
there's
same
been
word,
so many
isn't it?
times
Yeah.
this year, haven't we, where Jack's ridden more with his head than with his heart. He's maturing and developing into a top quality MotoGP rider. Can't wait actually to see what Jack can do. If Ducati improve that GP20, get a bit more mid-corner turning, then I think Jack actually will be a real good shot to be top Ducati in the championship next year, to be honest.
5 podiums this year, Simon. I mean, I don't think even Jack's going to be upset with that.
I went to the Pramac garage to get a quote, you know, from someone for the show, but all I got was a beer, a lot of music, a couple of hugs. So I left and drank the beer and went to see Tardozzi and ask him about Jack. You know, I started off saying, "What do you think of Jack?" And he echoed what we're all saying: is we knew Jack had the speed, but he managed it so well. Like the racecraft that he said, the tyre management. He said, we thought Dovi would be able to get by him, and he couldn't. So, yeah, he just said, very impressive. And then he did go on to say that, yeah, we genuinely thought Dovi had a shot for the podium by midway, and it didn't happen. They were too fast in front of him.
Now, we're not going to be able to cover all bases here in this episode of After the Flag. What we will do is cover all bases in, of course, the Valencia test. Us three are covering hours and hours of that, so we can really dig into what's happened so far this year. But we'll try and get through what we can. But let's just talk about the guys that were just behind Fabio Quartararo and Jack Miller, the likes of Rins and Dovi. We'll start with Dovi. I'm going to ask you both about both of them. I have to admit, with the start that Rins made, I genuinely thought there was more to come from him, and it never really happened. And likewise, Dovi, given how strong he's been recently at the end of races, I thought he might just be saving himself up for something. But in the end, it kind of just petered out a little.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see Alex Rins go backwards too often, and when he got that awesome start, one of the best starts I've seen all year, 8th place to 3rd, out-dragging a Ducati with Andrea Dovizioso on board, heading onto the first corner. I thought Alex was nailed on for a podium, to be honest. I couldn't see him throwing it away, but he got caught, and then he ran that soft rear tyre. He was the only one of that top group that ran the soft rear tyre. Simon had a great interview in the race with Piero Taramassa from Michelin, where he said in those last 5 or 6 laps in this temperature and with this grip levels, the soft was probably not going to last as good as the hard. We know as well how damn difficult it is to get by Andrea Dovizioso and the Ducati. You know, and this circuit, it's tight, twisty, a bit gnarly, so hard to overtake. You know, Alex, I'm sure if he had the opportunity to make the pass clean, he would have gone for it. But 2 things, the Ducati's brilliant on brakes, and so is Andrea Dovizioso. So it makes it a really, really tough task, because he pretty much sat behind Andrea Dovizioso for so long without really showing him a front wheel.
Matt did the perfect summary there on the tyre front. I thought was the same problem. And I went to see David Brivio just before the show and asked him what the story was, and he said exactly what you just said, how difficult the Ducati was to get by. You know, they can pass them down the straight, but to pass back on the brakes, which you have to do on the Suzuki, is so difficult. And with this one-line track, it was a total nightmare. But he did say what, I thought he was going to say the tyre dropped off because he took the soft, and he said no, the tyre was fine the whole way. It was purely the speed of the guys in front, but also how difficult the Ducati was to get past.
Mir didn't have a bad day. He wasn't too far behind that group. Valentino Rossi, it never really worked out for him this weekend, especially after the 2 crashes on Friday. Guys, what on earth happened to Maverick Viñales here today? I cannot work it out. I've just looked through the data of his lap times. He was pouring out 1:31s for fun in all conditions this weekend, but he didn't get the start, and he just never settled.
He sank without a trace, really. I mean, Friday he looked awesome. He saw him in his media from Friday, and he was so confident. He thought, yeah, the bike feels just like it did in Malaysia. I feel great. And he felt like he could actually repeat what he produced in Sepang, but he never looked like it at all. It was like one of those sort of classic old Maverick Viñales no-shows today. You know, he didn't get the best of starts off the line, although he was ahead of Marc Marquez going into the first corner. And from that point onwards, he got passed by Franco Morbidelli quite early and just could not get back through on the other Yamaha. It was really, really underwhelming, very, very disappointing from Maverick as well. I mean, not the way that he wanted to finish the season. There's still clearly, despite some highs and a lot of podiums over the last few weeks, there's a lot of work to be done on that side of the factory Yamaha garage, and they will not be happy because, you know, 7th time this year now, Fabio Quartararo has pretty comprehensively beaten both the factory Yamahas, because today Viñales and Rossi were absolutely nowhere.
About Maverick, I was determined to get some sort of answer because he was so good all weekend, and all of us thought he'd be, on the podium at least, if not leading. So I was stood outside the Yamaha trucks. They were in meetings for, I'm talking hours, with Valentino, Mayo Mirigali, the team manager, but I couldn't even get Esteban Garcia, his crew chief, for a quote. But I didn't stop there. I kept digging until I found someone who could tell me that it was a grip problem. I'm not allowed to say what or where, it'll come out, but it was a big grip problem.
Oh, okay, well, there you go. I mean, it's not the first time either that a Yamaha, once they get mired into the pack, it's a one-line bike, isn't it? So a big problem there for Maverick.
From the first lap, like.
Well, exactly.
So it was some issue, yeah.
Let's
anyway.
Just quickly talk about one of the riders of the weekend. It didn't end so great for Iker Lecuona, but I think we've all three of us have been hugely impressed. He went out in spectacular style. 3 crashes in the space of seconds over at turn 6. Petrucci going down first, Zarco, and then that horror smash. I mean, I'm so pleased to see that Zarco's okay. But of course, what we should just discuss is the fact that Iker Lecuona, until that point, was on for some points in his debut in MotoGP, and he was ahead of Jorge Lorenzo, who, of course, we will talk about in a moment.
I thought he was absolutely phenomenal all weekend long. You imagine how nervous he would have been on Friday morning. You know, talk about being thrust into the lion's den against these guys, some of the very best we've ever seen in MotoGP. Never thrown his leg before over a MotoGP bike. The KTM as well, we know it's not the easiest MotoGP bike to be riding. He did not make any mistakes, he did not crash, he did what he was supposed to do, build up his experience, build up his data, build up his speed, and he was fast. He was putting together some really, really respectable lap times.
31s.
We mentioned it in the race. I mean, you looked at one point in that Grand Prix before he crashed, the guys that were behind him. Jorge Lorenzo, a 5-times world champion. Tito Rabat, a former Moto2 world champion. Guys that have raced in this paddock in MotoGP for a long, long time. Before he had that crash, I thought he was actually a candidate, a real strong candidate to be rider of the weekend in MotoGP, because he was sensational, a bright star for the future, and it looks like Hervé Poncharal picked another gem, doesn't it?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I loved what Pit Byra said to us in, I think it was warm-up, when I interviewed him about Iker. He said, we told him to take it easy and we don't have any pressure and we expect him to finish last, we don't want him to crash. And then he said, but the temperature's like this, if you go slow, the tyres cool down and you fall off. So Iker, don't go fast, but don't go slow, you know. He said it's such a difficult weekend for him to manage, and he did it so well. All I can say, again, is what'll change this championship is a big injection of blood from Moto2.
Yeah, look at this time last year, nobody gave Fabio Quartararo a prayer of doing anything on that Petronas Yamaha SRT bike this year, and look how he's proved people wrong. Maybe Iker Lecuona is another Fabio Quartararo in the making.
There could be 2-3 more in Moto2.
Hey, and we've got
100%.
Brad Binder coming up. Let's not forget.
Can't wait for that.
He's had an awesome weekend again. Okay, let's have a look back then and see what we predicted yesterday. More importantly, it was the last round, and these two were going head-to-head, locked on points going into the final round. Let's see what we predicted here yesterday afternoon. Okay, my predictions for the race tomorrow have to be completely different to what Matt and Simon think, and probably different to what even I think. I believe it will be a battle between Mark and Maverick, with Fabio maybe in third, but I know that I'm so far down on points that I need to just go for something random. So, hey, let's go for the French. Let's go for Fabio to get his first win. I'll go for Alex to come through from 8th, Alex Rins that is, and I'll go for Jack Miller third. Let's see what happens.
Well, here we are, my final prediction of 2019. I think it's going to be another win for Maverick Viñales, so strong on Friday. I'm going to go Marc Marquez to be second. I'd love to see a fairy tale finale for Fabio Quartararo. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's going to be on the podium. Now, I'm reliably informed, me and Simon Crafar are level on points going into this final round, so I'd like to wish him the best of luck. May the best man win, as long as that's me. Only kidding, it's been a great fight. That's my predictions for the final round here in Valencia.
So, my prediction for the final race. I didn't have too much trouble choosing Mark for first, especially where Viñales is qualified, because Viñales is just as fast. So I'm going to go Mark, Viñales. Third is a lot more difficult for me because Fabio is the favourite, but it really kind of depends on his start, you know, and there's also Rins in there, there's Jack's going to be there. I think Jack and the Duke may be a bit harder on tyres, so I'm not going to go Jack for third for that reason. So I'm going to go Quartararo for third, but I'm not allowed because I heard Matt went for that and we're equal on points. So I'm going to flick a coin up in the air and go Alex Rins is going to come through and make the day for me.
Well, there we have it. We have a winner. At least this one went down to the final round, unlike the rest of the champions. Simon, I'd like to say many congratulations.
Thanks, I fluked a few.
Chapeau, mate, chapeau.
Thanks.
But,
Champ.
like Fabio Quartararo, I'm going to come back fighting next year and hopefully smash the pair of you. No, seriously, well done to you, Simon.
There's a bit of fluke in there.
Before we finish, just get a couple of other things going on. I just mentioned the Johann Zarco thing. I know you want to talk about that. I mean, guys, I'm surprised Zarco was not in hospital after what happened there.
Well, I mean, what I suspect is that he was walking through the sand trap and he heard that bike, and you know how good he is at backflips. He just did a backflip.
Well, unfortunately, it's the only backflip he has done this year, but for the wrong reasons.
I mean, really, really fortunate. So relieved to see him walking away. You know, the next time he crashes, he's not going to be walking through the gravel trap. He's going to be looking over his shoulder, because that was really
never
nasty.
forget that.
No, I mean, you won't forget that. I mean, hopefully there's going to be a happy ending, because it does look like somewhere either in MotoGP or Moto2 he'll be having a full-time ride in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I would go into the gossip and the rumours and we could discuss that, but honestly, we could be here all day and we still don't really know what's happening. The prospect of Alex Marquez maybe being a Repsol Honda rider. Guys, just join us for the Valencia test and hopefully we'll be able to bring you more. Before we finish, we have to talk about Gorgeous George. Jorge Lorenzo, his career comes to an end. The bombshell landed on our doorstep here at the Valencia circuit on Thursday, where he announced that his career would come to an end, and it's done. Guys, it's over. 5-time world champion. I have to say, I've thoroughly enjoyed watching him over those years. He has beaten the very best in the business. I'm quite sad that he's leaving, but at the same time, it looks like the time was right.
Yeah, I mean, the time was right. Today was proof of that, 14th place, not the way that he wanted to bow out, but what a career. Yeah. So much for him to look back on and be proud. I feel really, really fortunate. It's a pleasure to be part of this family anyway, but to have seen Jorge's entire career right from 2002, to see him mature into one of the best I've ever seen. Like you said, Steve, this is a guy that could race and beat Marquez, Stoner, Pedrosa and Valentino Rossi in a golden era for the sport. He's been a great world champion, a great rider, a great ambassador, and whatever he does in the future, I'm sure he's going to be a massive success at. But it was a pleasure to see that guy go to work on a motorcycle, because he was absolutely awesome.
I'd just like to repeat what I said. I think it was in FP2 or FP1 when we heard the news, that as a rider, you obviously cherish the moment standing on podiums or you know what I'm saying, the teams are wrapped with you, but fans are cheering, but there's nothing like respect from your peers, meaning the other riders, and I suppose it's the same with any sport or art or musicians. To get credit from other riders basically is the ultimate, and I don't know one rider that doesn't admire Jorge when he was on his peak. To watch him, every rider just said, unreal, he rides beautifully. So there's that, and I'd like to throw in there that we've been lucky enough to meet Jorge one-on-one, and it's totally different than meeting someone with all the cameras and that. And Jorge was an absolute gent every time I met him one-on-one, and I'd like to wish him luck with the next part of his life.
Yeah, here, I think we all echo those sentiments. He is an absolute gent, and he was such a great champion, one of the best of the modern era. Like the hashtag says, thank you, Jorge. Guys, that's all we've got time for here in Valencia. Of course, I need to go and rest the voice ready for a load of hours of testing coming up here. Be sure to join us for that, where we'll try and sum up all the gossip throughout the rest of this test here and our stay in Valencia. Thanks for joining us this season for After the Flag. Join us for the test. So much more to come. 2020 starts now.
Here comes Marquez, they're side by side. Marquez will have the inside line, crucially though, and he barges his way through on Quartararo.
Once again, Marquez takes it.
Marquez is the master of 2019 and he wins here in Valencia. Second place for Fabio Quartararo and an excellent third for Jack Miller. And now we wait for the number 99. Here he comes, the 32-year-old five-time world champion. It has been a pure joy to watch him at his best.
The end of a magnificent MotoGP career, a 5 times world champion. Jorge Lorenzo says goodbye to MotoGP. Thank you for the memories, Jorge Lorenzo. What a legend.
Yeah.